Hello, welcome to Game Latte. Today I'm going to talk about Knights of the Old Republic, mainly 2. I first played Knights of the Old Republic 1, I believe, a few years ago. It was when I kind of discovered BioWare and its wonderful RPG-ness. And this was one of the games that I had never played that it seemed like everyone else had played. So when it came out on Steam and Direct to Drive as direct download, I totally jumped on that. And at first, it was a little jarring to find that the combat was so sluggish compared to, what you find today in the market. And the graphics, of course, were pretty outdated. However, I did find the character faces to be very animated, I guess, and they were very charming, and that was one of the things I really liked. Also, the story is freaking fantastic during most of the game. I found the ending to be a little lukewarm. I didn't really think it had a really huge epic ending or anything. It was interesting, I will say that, but I was kind of wanting more. I think it left you wanting a bit more. And Knights of the Old Republic 2, in a sense, kind of promised to be that. Now, that's the game we're going to talk about mainly. The one that was just done yesterday. I was so, wanting to play more in that universe and in that story. When I finished Kotor 1, I looked for Kotor 2 basically all over the place. I couldn't find it, and finally this Christmas I got it, which was wonderful. And it took me a while to finally get through it. I will say the disappointing thing about the game that first, threw me for a loop is that, the game starts very familiar and it stays very familiar. It's basically they reuse a lot of the same art that they did in the first game. I mean, of course, the look is going to be the same. The graphics are going to be the same because it's the exact same engine. The fact that they recycled a lot of the art was kind of boring, I guess, for a sequel. And also the story starts off very, very slow and very confusing. About halfway through the game, I think I really lost steam and I didn't know if I was going to finish it because I was half confused and half bored and just kind of uninterested. But I made myself push through it, and I'm glad I did, because as lukewarm as the middle was, the ending was awesome. The last stretch of the game, I think, is really rewarding if you keep up with it. So I recommend, if you have it and you've started to play it, to really finish it just to see what happens. Because the Knights of the Old Republic 1 story differs a little from the first one. The first one comes with very, one shocking revelation, and it starts off pretty slow, has this big shocking revelation somewhere in the middle, I think, and then it just gets really epic, and and the ending is mysterious and all that, kind of leaving it open for something more. And then Knights of the Old Republic 2, by contrast, starts off the same. It starts off, a little fun. The tutorial is great because you get to play a little robot and they show you how to go around and all that. And I think it's T3 you get to play. Then after that, it really slows down. And then the thing with Kotor 2 is that it's missing a lot of its original content that was supposed to launch with the game. The game launched a lot earlier than it should have, than it was supposed to. I guess, from what I understand, there was pressure from the publishers and from LucasArts. I don't know how much truth there is to that. That's just what I've heard, but I believe it. I mean, it's just sometimes it seems like you're taking from one place to another like that fast, and there's no really explanation, or it's just really abrupt how things happen, and they kind of take you out of the immersion. Also, there's a lot of bugs that take you out of the immersion of the game. Like, sometimes you're talking to an NPC and they're not facing you, you're talking to the back of their heads. That was one of the things that really jarred me at first. Like, what the? Also, like, people will walk through walls, and there's just a few glitches like that. Some of the responses are glitched, and and that's kind of annoying. But if you can look past that, the game really picks up steam towards, like I said, towards the end, and the story, you really gotta play for the story itself, and for if you're really curious to find out more about the world. Now, the disappointing thing about the story is that you don't get to find out about the main character in the first one, which is really, I don't know about you, but I was very attached to the main character in Kotor 1, and the fact that I don't get to find out anything about them in Kotor 2 is just, it was just kind of a heartbreaker for me. And the thing is that throughout the whole game, they lead you on thinking that you're going to find something about them, or find them, or, you know, and you don't. You don't, and that really disappointed me. The other thing I could tell you about the game, there's this, I think it's a new feature, I don't remember this from the first game, where you have a new sort of force power, but it's really kind of a meta gaming sort of power where you get a vision of a forthcoming difficult battle. So basically tells you when to save. So you get kind of this fuzzy picture in your mind of, like, you know, a creature that's about to go berserk or something. And then you know that it's time to save. So that's actually kind of cool because it ties in the story, but it's also, you know, has an actual, it helps you out as a gamer, basically. It has a purpose outside of the game. The other thing I didn't like about the game is the fact that everybody's a Jedi, I guess. They actually explain why at the end, and it does make sense, and it's totally probable. However, I kind of like being the only Jedi on the ship, I guess. I don't know. And so you probably heard this, but yeah, a lot of your companions can be turned Jedi or Sith depending on your alignment. So they're still true to that. You can either choose the dark side or the light side. And yeah, and I don't think it changes that much except for flavor. And what else can I tell you about the game? I have news. I think I pretty much went through most of what I wanted to say. And would I recommend this game? I would recommend it if you're a huge fan of the first one. And if you really, you know, want to know more about the world, because you're not going to know more about the first game and the ending or you don't get any resolution, so don't play it for that reason. And you know, and if you basically you're in the mood for a really cool and interesting story, definitely. I'm a huge fan of the character the Exile. I think the Exile is actually quite a complex character when you really look into it. And they are a very stubborn individual, and due to what kind of person they are and what kind of force wielder they are very interesting and very unique, and have a different strength of character than most people. And I don't know, when I played Neverwinter Nights 2 Mask of the Betrayer, that kind of it reminds me of that, because in Mask of the Betrayer, you are kind of like an anti-hero kind of thing. You're really a menace. Oh, I'm giving you too much. But, you know, Kotor 2 is sort of similar, and I found that to be very, very appealing. I will say that while Obsidian is maybe not as good as BioWare when it comes to actual gameplay and making, you know, choosing powers and all that, and making character builds fun, it's kind of tedious actually. They do make some really interesting story arc choices that BioWare does not seem to do. BioWare, of course, is king of RPG, but I think Obsidian has a very edgy, darker side to things, and I really appreciate that from them. So that's basically my thoughts on Knights of the Republic 2. I hope you enjoy, and we will catch you next time on Game Latte. Bye-bye.
Whoa, I drank pots and pots and pots and pots of strong black coffee, trying to keep my sleepy soul awake.